So hello everyone, welcome to another video on discrete maths. In this video we are going to start our final module, and this module deals with a very interesting topic called abstract algebra. Okay, so before we begin abstract algebra, let me tell you about what is arithmetic, what is algebra. Okay, so you have studied this. You have studied that 4 plus 2 is equal to 6, right? So what is happening here? We have one number over here, one number over here, and some operation over here. Okay, so this operation works on these two operands, right? So there are two operands and there is one operation. So what is the operation? It is plus. And what are the operands? 4 and 2. So when I add 4 and 2, when I do this plus of 4 and 2, I get 6. So instead of plus, I could have had minus. This would have given me 2. Or I could have multiplication. This would have given me 8. Or I could have had division. This could have given me 2. Alright. So apart from this, I could have had other operations as well. For example, I could have had power, 4 to the power 2. This would have been 16. Or I could have had mod. Okay. This would be 4 mod 2 would have been 0. Okay. Or what I could have done, I could have defined an operation. Okay. Say this is some operation that I have defined. This operation works under this rule. So A, my operation B is A plus B by say 3. Okay, so when I have this operation, it would be, what would be the answer? The answer would be 2 plus 4, that is 6 divided by 3. So it would have been 2. Okay, so this, all these things, this is arithmetic. Okay, you have studied plus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division when you were kid in LP school. Okay, then you grew up. Okay, so what happened was that maths became harder. Okay, so instead of working with two numbers, now I will have some unknown. Okay, here I have this unknown x. So say this is 6. Okay, so what is x? What will be the value of this unknown such that this equality will hold? I know this equality will hold if x is equal to 2. Alright. So similarly, I could have had, instead of plus, I could have had multiplication, I could have had division, I could have had subtraction. Okay. So depending on this operation, my x should have been different value. Okay. So this, now that I have an unknown that I want to figure out, okay, that I want to know, now this thing is called algebra. Okay. See the difference between arithmetic and algebra. In arithmetic, I simply applied my operation on two known operands. In algebra, there is a unknown operand whose value I want to figure out. Okay. So this is algebra. Okay. Now here is this thing. We are going to study abstract algebra. Okay. So the concept of what is abstract or what is modern, this is also called modern algebra. So different things were modern at different point of time. Okay. So for example, I have this equation, 4x plus 6 is equal to 2. This is a very simple equation. It's x would be minus 1. Minus 1 would give me this unknown, x is minus 1. Minus 1 would give me the solution to this equation. Alright, this is something that we did in algebra. Now, 1,000 years back, okay, there was this philosopher, Diophantus. Okay, he said that the solution to this equation is a absurd number. Okay, so absurd number. So the fact is that back then numbers hadn't use. Maybe I was a shepherd. Okay, 1,000 years back or in 1000 BC. for example, several thousand years back, numbers were used to count things. Okay, this is back in Greek civilization. So Diophantus was a philosopher in Greece. Okay, so numbers were used to count things. For example, I can have 2 horses, I can have 3 horses, I can have 1 horses. I cannot have -1 horse. Okay, so this did not make sense to Diophantus, that there could be a negative number. So back at that time, this concept of negative number was the most modern concept. Okay, this was an abstract idea that later on became solid. Now negative number is very useful in our everyday day-to-day life, in our banks. Okay, if I take a loan, my asset is in negative. Okay, so it applies. We have use of negative number in real life. Okay, there are lots of places where negative numbers is useful. If I brake my car, my acceleration would be in negative. All right. Then another modern idea. Historically, it was a modern idea, but now it is pretty old idea. Okay, is this concept of root over of -1. Okay, so you have studied complex number back in school. This has application. Complex number has application in engineering, in science. Okay, so this was also back several thousand years back. This was a modern revolutionary idea. All right. So what is modern evolves with time. So that is the point over here. Okay. Now going back to the normal algebra, we will talk about modern or abstract algebra in our context a bit later. Going back to algebra, okay, we had this kind of formulas. Okay, this kind. So here x would be minus b by a. Here x would be, you all know this is a quadratic equation. Okay, so the roots of quadratic equation is this. Alright, so these things, the solution to this is x equal to minus b by a. The solution to this is x equal to this. Okay, this was known from ancient time, from before Greek, this philosophy itself. Okay, before the time of the Greek philosophers. Now, after this square, we came to this cube equations. Okay. So equations of this form. So after solving this, we had the solution of this. This is the solution of this. This is the solution of this quadratic equation. So now people were interested in finding some solution of this kind of equation. Okay. Later on, this equation, the solution was given by someone called Ludovico Ferrari. Okay. The solution to this arose gradually. What happened was that first the solution to this was given, plus ax square equal to b. So this does not have this x term. Okay. The solution to this kind of equation was given by someone called Tartaglia. Okay, it was in 1535. Then later on, someone else gave the solution to this equation. This does not have the square term. Okay, this was given by Scipio del Ferro. Okay, so after that we had the solution to this. So this solution was given, this happened before, then this was found by this person. Okay, so like this we had the solution to this cube equation with x to raised to the power 3. Then we had solution to x raised to the power 4. Okay, so this is what happened. Then eventually people were interested in knowing if I can find solution with equation that has x raised to the power 5 or x raised to the power 6. This were natural question. After solving for x to the power 4, people were interested in knowing if I could have solution, some formula, like this quadratic equation has a formula. So if I place the various coefficient in that formula, I will get the solution. So people got formula for this equation, people got formula for this equation, this kind of equation. Now people were interested in knowing if we can get formula for equation that has this kind of numbers. Alright. So what happened is that someone called Niels Abel, okay, this person in 1824, he proved that there is no such formula. Okay, so a formula for equation with these terms does not exist. That was proven by Niels Abel. So with that, this kind of algebra kind of stopped. Okay, so there was nothing to discover. Okay, of course there are lots of things to discover in algebra, but this race to discover formula to solve polynomial equation of this form, okay, that stopped. Later on, what happened was that people started doing algebra on lots of other form of things. For example, people started doing algebra on matrices. Okay, you have studied that. You have studied how to do addition of matrices. You have studied how to do multiplication of matrices. So that was one matrix algebra that started. Okay. And one more thing that started was this modern algebra that we are going to study. Okay. It is also called group theory by many people. Okay, but we are going to stick to this nomenclature, abstract algebra, because there are things apart from group that we are going to study in this module. Okay, so what is abstract algebra? What is the thing that we are going to study in abstract algebra? Okay, in abstract algebra, for example, this was the equation that I talked about. Okay, I have operands and I have an operation. Okay, so these operands come from a set. Okay, and there is some operation. This will be denoted, for example, here the operation is plus, and then this operand is coming from the set of natural number. Alright, so this is a this is what is it called, ordered pair. Okay, this is the ordered pair that we are going to study properties about this ordered pair in this abstract algebra. We are not going to apply this plus operation on numbers and going to find out what is 4 plus 2. Okay, 4 plus 2 is 6. That we know in this thing arithmetic. Okay, then in algebra we know we will have this kind of an equation, 4 plus x equal to 6. Okay, so there we will try to find the value of x. We are no longer interested in finding the value of x. We are going to now look at algebra from a meta perspective. Okay, from a high level. We are going to do an abstract view of algebra, and then we are going to look at what is the set from which the operands are coming and what is the operation. Okay, and we are going to see some properties, and based on some properties we are going to make some conclusions. Alright, so let us start. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to look at a few properties. Okay, the first property is closure. The second property is associativity. Okay. Third property is identity. Then inverse. Then commutative. So these are the different properties, okay, that we are interested in. You will understand very soon what I am trying to do. And there are different structures, okay, that has this name. The first is algebraic structure. This is also called magma. Okay. Then there is semigroup. Then monoid. Then we have group. Then we have abelian group. Alright. So these are several things that we have. Okay. Different structures that we have. So we have, I said we are going to study the properties of some set and some operation. Okay. So what does closure mean? Closure means when I do this operation on elements of this set, do the result belong to this set? Okay. For example, this natural number and addition. So I have 2 plus 3. Both of these are natural number. When I add them, I have 5. When I add two natural number, my output, whatever I get, is going to be a natural number. Right? So this means that this operation and this set, okay, this set under this operation is closed. Okay. Let us look at an example of something that is not closed. For example, say the set of natural number and the subtraction operation. Okay. Here I have 2 minus 3. Okay. 2 minus 3 is minus 1. Now minus 1 does not belong to the set of natural number. 2 comes from the set of natural number, 3 comes from the set of natural number, but minus 1 does not belong to the set of natural number. So this set of natural number under this operation subtraction minus, okay, or subtraction is not closed. Okay. So here is the thing. To be an algebraic structure, a set and this operation, we will of course talk about this ordered pair, a set and an operation. So to be an algebraic structure, this set under this operation has to be closed. Okay, and none of this matter. Okay, now let us talk about semigroup. To be a semigroup, it has to be closed and it has to be associative. Now let me talk about something that is closed. Okay, so the set of integers and subtraction, is it closed? When I subtract two integers, okay, I will get back an integer. Okay, this is closed. Okay, previously I gave this example, set of natural number and subtraction. Here this was a natural number, this was a natural number, this both of these came from this set, and I got this output. This did not belong to the set of natural number, so I say this was not closed. Here now I have this new set. Okay, here this is coming from the set of integer, this is coming from the set of integer. I get minus 1. Minus 1 do belong to the set of integer. Okay, it may not belong to the set of positive integer, but it definitely does belong to the set of integers. So I know z and minus is closed. Okay. Now since it is closed, this set of integer under this operation minus subtraction, it is closed. I know it is a algebraic structure, I know it is magma. Okay, but is it semi-group? Let us see with an example. Is left associative equal to right associative? That is the question. I have 5 minus 4 minus 3, okay, and I have 5 minus 4 minus 3. If both of them are equal, then left associative is equal to right associative, and this associative will be true. Okay, but this is equal to, this 4 minus 3 is equal to 1, 5 minus 1 is equal to 4, and this is equal to 5 minus 4 is equal to 1, 1 minus 3 is equal to minus 2. So I can see that this right associative, this is right associative, this is left associative, both of them are not equal. Okay, so I can see that this set of integer under this minus, okay, this operation minus is magma because it is closed, but it is not semi-group because although it is closed, it is not associative. Okay, so let us look at this set of integer with addition. Okay, under this operation addition, here 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 5 is 12, right? Yeah, then 5 plus 4 is 9 plus 3 is 12. So here right associative is equal to left associative. Okay, so this z under this operation plus is associative. It is of course closed, so both it is closed and it is associative. So this semi-group, this is a semi-group. Okay, the set of integer under this operation addition is a semi-group. Okay. In case of a semi-group, this does not matter. Whether identity, inverse and commutative, this property does not matter. What is monoid? A monoid has to be closed, it has to be associative, and the identity has to exist. Okay. What is identity? Identity is this. I have, say, let me explain with two operations, addition and subtraction. I have some element A. Okay. So I have some element A. When I add it with something, it should give me A. Okay. Is there something like this? Yes, there is 0. Okay. So when I add anything with 0, it will give me A. Is there anything that I can, when I multiply with A, it will give me A? Yes, there is 1. And there is one more thing. A plus 0 is equal to 0 plus A. Okay. A into 1 is equal to 1 into A. Okay. So this is called identity. When I apply the operation with the identity, okay, I will get, when I apply this operation on identity and an element of the set, I will get back the element of the set. Okay. So if I write it like this, so I have this element from my set, I have some operation, this is not multiplication, this is a general operation that I am writing. Okay. Into E is equal to A. Okay, and this is equal to E, this operation A. Alright, so if this kind of a element exists, then this is called an identity. This kind of element is called an identity. Okay. So there is the question, what is a monoid? In monoid, okay, does the identity belong to the set? That is the question. Now say my natural set of natural number. Okay, here in abstract algebra in this class I am going to consider this to be the set of natural number. I am not going to consider 0. Okay, 0 is not there. Set. Okay, my new definition. So here is the question. This sum of this set of natural number under this operation addition, okay, is it closed? When I add two natural number, okay, uh, do I get back a natural number? So when I add to natural number, my output will be a natural number. So yeah, it is closed. Is it associative? So we already saw it is associative. Okay. So 5 plus 4 plus 3, whether I do this, or 5 plus 4 plus 3, whether I do this, both of them are going to be equal. So left associative is equal to right associative. I gave an example here, but it is going to be true for any natural number that you take. Okay, not only 5, 4 and 3. So this is what I have. This is associative. Associative property is true. Okay. Now, here is the question. Does identity exist in the set? What is the additive identity? We already discussed. What that additive identity is 0. That means when I add anything with 0, or when I add 0 with anything, okay, I will get back that thing. Okay, so 0 is the additive identity. Now, in my set of natural number, 0 does not exist. Okay, 0 does not belong to the set of natural number under my new definition of natural number. So, this thing, this set of natural number under this operation addition is not a monoid. Okay, so monoid will have identity, this property as well. So this thing is not a monoid, because although it is closed, although it is associative, but the identity element does not belong to the set of natural number. Alright. So because of that, we know this is not a monoid. So what is it? It is a semi-group at max. This is the magma, this is a semi-group, but this is not a monoid. Alright. So these two properties are satisfied by this, but this property is not satisfied. So only these two are satisfied. Alright. Let us talk about this set. The set of integers under this operation addition. Okay. Now this is closed. When I add two integers, I will get back an integer. Addition is associative. Okay. Then let us not discuss this any further. Addition is associative. Okay. Now this identity, okay, element 0, it belongs to the set of integers. Now this additive identity belongs to Z. Okay. For this reason, this property and this property, all of them are satisfied. Because of that reason, this is a monoid. Okay. Now inverse and commutative does not matter. Let us now talk about group. In group, this and this, all these have to be satisfied. Okay. Now we already saw this is not a monoid, so this cannot be group. Okay. Since this is not satisfied, so this cannot be a group. Let us talk about this set, Z and plus. Okay. What is inverse? Say I have some number A, I have this operation plus. What is it? When I add to A, I will get back my identity. Identity is 0, right? So if I add what minus A, okay, then I will get back 0. So here is the question. Z and plus. I know it is closed, I know it is associative, I know identity element exists, 0 exists in this set of real number. For every element in Z, the does the additive inverse of that element exist in the set? Okay. For 2, for example, okay, 2 plus minus 2 is equal to 0. So for 2, the additive inverse is minus 2. Alright. So for every number, the additive inverse belongs to the set of integers, right? So if I take an integer and I multiply with minus 1, I will get the additive inverse of that number. Okay. So that number, when I take an integer and multiply with -1, I will get an integer. Okay, so all the additive inverse of every element in Z, it does belong to Z. Okay, so every integer's additive inverse is an integer. Okay, so this is closed, is associative, the identity exists, and the inverse exists. Okay, so this is an example of a group. Now I know, okay, in abelian group all these 5 properties have to be satisfied. So it has to be closed, associative, identity must exist, inverse must exist, and it has to be commutative. So I know addition a plus b is equal to b plus a. Okay, so if I add 2 integers, 2 plus 3, it will be equal to 3 plus 2. Okay, take any 2 integers, when I add them, a plus b, it will be b plus a. So commutative property holds under this operation. Okay, so in this set, under this operation, the commutative property holds. So this is a abelian group. Okay. Now if I ask you, what is the type of structure of this? Is it a algebraic magma? Is it a semi-group? Is it monoid group or abelian group? You should tell it is a abelian group, although it is a monoid. Okay, all these 3 are satisfied, therefore it is a monoid. But then you should tell what is the highest form that it is. Okay, it is an abelian group. Now these are the 5 things that we are going to see in this class. Okay, now here is the relation among all these 5 things. We will see a few more examples, but there is a relation that you must have figured out by now. Okay, so there will be lots of set and lots of operation. If some set is closed, or let me write down closure. If closure property is satisfied, then we say it's a algebraic structure. Okay, so among all this algebraic structure, if associativity is also satisfied, then we say it's a semi-group. Okay, first it has to be an algebraic structure. Okay, it has to be closed, and then it has to satisfy associativity. Only then it will be a semi-group. Okay, then in semi-group, that is after satisfying closure and associativity, if identity exists, then it is monoid. Okay, among all this monoid, if inverse exists, so when I say exist, I mean exist in the set. Okay, so of course this identity exists, additive identity, for example 0, it exists, but then it does not exist in the set of natural number, our new definition, where natural number is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is the definition you studied back in school, but when we were studying set, I gave you another definition where 0 was also included. So once again we are using this old definition that we studied back in school. Okay, so when I say something exists, this 0 exists, this identity, additive identity 0, it exists, I mean does it exist in the set that I am talking about? So here I was talking about the set of natural number. So I was asking, does 0 exist in the set of natural number? Okay, so that was my question. Here I am asking, for example in natural number, the additive identity of 2 is -2. -2 would not belong to my set. Okay, so when I am asking, does the inverse belong to my set, when I ask, does the inverse exist, I mean does the inverse belong to my set, does it exist in my set? Okay, of course here I am working with a set some set A and some operation. Okay, this you will often see in algebraic structure. This is a general operation. Okay, this is not multiplication, this is multiplication, this is some general operation. Okay, we are not interested in what is it. Is it plus, minus? I'm not talking about that. It is some operation that works on the element of this set. Okay, so inverse. If closure exists, then it is algebraic structure. If it is associative, if it is closed and associative, it is semigroup. If it is closed, associative and identity exists, it is monoid. If it is closed, associative, identity exists and inverse exists, it's a group. And if it is closed, associative, identity exists, inverse exists, and the commutative property holds, then it is abelian group. Alright, so yeah, this is the relation between all these different type of structures. Okay, so we can see things like, to be a group, it has to be a monoid, it has to be a semi-group, it has to be an algebraic structure. Okay, something cannot be a group without being a monoid. Okay, so in order to be a group, it has to satisfy this and this. So among all these algebraic structure, among all these pairs, okay, this set and operation, there will be lots that are not even algebraic structure. For example, we saw this set of natural number and minus is not even an algebraic structure. Okay, it is not even closed. Okay, so that is something that is outside these things that we are interested in. Okay, so first thing, there will be several that are algebraic structure. Out of all this algebraic structure, all these that are closed, a few of them, several of them will satisfy this associativity property. Okay, those will be semi-group. Now, out of all these semi-groups, some will be there that will have identity, that will be monoid, and then out of all these monoids, some will have inverse, that will be group, and then out of all these groups, all these things that are in group, some will follow commutative property, that will be abelian group. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay. Now let us solve a few problems. Okay, let us do this first. The set of natural number under addition, set of natural number under subtraction, set of natural number under multiplication, natural number under division. Okay, this is, I have to write smaller. I needed a bigger board for this. Okay, natural number under addition, natural number under subtraction, natural number under multiplication, natural number under division. Okay, then integers under addition, integers under subtraction, integers under multiplication, integers under division, real number under addition, real number under multiplication, real number under subtraction, real number under multiplication, and real number under division. Okay, so I am interested in figuring out if it is an algebraic structure, if it is semi-group, if it is monoid, if it is group, and if it is abelian group. Okay, so let us try to figure out. Natural number under addition, is it closed? We already figured out, yes, it is closed. When I add two natural number, I will get back a natural number. So yeah, it is an algebraic structure. Natural number under subtraction, is it closed? No, it is not closed. So I already gave you an example. I gave this example. 2 minus 3, both of these are natural number. I apply this subtraction operation. I get minus 1. But minus 1 is not a natural number, right? So this is not closed. Okay. Now here is something interesting. Since this is not closed, okay, I know this is not an algebraic structure. Since it is not an algebraic structure, I know it's not a semi-group, it's not a monoid, it's not a group, and it's not an algebraic abelian group. Okay. What about natural number under multiplication? Natural number under multiplication. When I multiply two natural number, I will get back a natural number. So it is closed. What about division? When I divide 2 by 3, when I divide 2 by 4, let me make it easier, I get 1 by 2, or it is 0.5. 0.5 is not a natural number, right? So it is not closed. When I apply this division operation on two natural number, yes, sometimes I divide 4 by 2, I get 2. So when I apply this division in here, I am getting back a natural number. This to a natural number, I apply this divide operation, I am getting back a natural number. Fine. But here I have two natural number, I apply this division, I am not getting a natural number. Okay. So for every element, this is not true. Okay. So it is not closed. Okay. So this division operation under natural number is not closed. Okay. What about now? This addition under integers. When I add two integer, I get back an integer. When I subtract two integer, I get back an integer. When I multiply two integer, I get an integer. When I divide two integer, I don't get an integer. Okay. Fine. This is an example. This is not an integer. Okay. There's one more reason. We will talk about it later. When I add two real numbers, I get back a real number. When I subtract two real number, I get a real number. When I multiply two real number, I get a real number. When I divide two real number, yes, this is a real number. But is it always true that when I divide two real number, I will get a real number? Think about it. Pause the video and think about it. No. The answer is no, because when I divide by 0, it is undefined. Okay. Don't say we get infinity. We don't get infinity. It is undefined. Okay. In calculus, we can say when I divide something by x, where x tends, limit of x tends to 0, my solution tends towards infinity. That is a different thing, but something divided by 0 is not infinity. Alright. It is undefined. Okay. So, undefined, of course, does not belong to the set of real numbers. So, for this reason, I have this number 2. When I divide by 0, I get something over here. Okay. This something does not belong to the set of real number. So, this is undefined. This is not closed. Okay. The solution must belong to the set. Only then it will be closed. Here the solution does not belong to the set. Both of these operations are from my set, but the solution is not in my set. Alright. So what do I know now? I know this natural number and divide. This is not an algebraic structure, so this cannot be semi-group, cannot be monoid, cannot be group, cannot be abelian group. Similarly, this I can simply mark this. This cannot be on this. Alright. Okay. Now let us see if all of these are whatever remains. Okay, let me remove all this to make it clearer. Okay, this cannot be anything. So let me remove all this. Okay. Now we have less clutter in our book. Okay. So natural number under addition, I know it is an algebraic structure that closed. It is closed. Okay. Closure property holds. To be semi-group, the associative property must hold. Okay. So is addition associative? So addition in number, okay, is associative. So take that for granted. Let us not stress too much. It is 2 plus 3 plus 4. Whether you do left associative or you do right associative, the answer is going to be same. Okay, addition is associative. So this is one of the axioms of mathematics actually. Okay, you can look at appendix 1 or 2 of your discrete mathematics by Rosen. Okay, in that book there are a few axioms that are given. This is a truth about addition. Okay, it is one of the axioms. Okay, that addition is associative, at least in case of numbers. Okay, we will see later on, we will talk about matrices, but right now we know addition is associative. So I know this natural number under addition is a semi-group because it is closed and associative property hold. Similarly, multiplication is also associative. Okay, in case of numbers. In case of integers, this is true, addition is associative. Alright. What about this? Integers, 5 minus 4 minus 3. This, we already talked about this, okay? This is equal to 4, this is equal to minus 2. I believe this is 1, this is minus 2, 4. Yeah. Both this is right associative, this is left associative. These two do not, these two are not equal. Okay. So for this reason, I know this Z, set of integers under this subtraction, is not a semi-group. It is a algebraic structure, it is magma, but it is not a semi-group. Okay. So that is what we have. And because it is not a semi-group, it is not a monoid, it is not a group, and it is not a abelian group. Okay. Now integers under multiplication. Multiplication is associative. Okay. So yeah, this is also semi-group. Now under real numbers. Okay. This is true. Multiplication is true. Once again, this real number, of course, these are also real number, 5, 4, 3. Okay. So I use this as a example in case of integers to show that integer, this associative property does not hold over here. So I can use this same example to show that the associative property in case of real number under this operation subtraction does not hold. Okay. So yeah, this is also not a semi-group. This is a algebraic structure, but this is not a semi-group. This is a algebraic structure, this is not a semi-group. Since it is not a semi-group, it is not magma, it is not group, it is not abelian group. Okay. So this is what we have. Now let us remove this two. Let us talk about the rest. Okay. Is it monoid? Does the identity exist? Okay, that is what monoid asks. So the additive identity is what is it that when I add with something, I will get back that thing? What is it when I something is added to it, I will get back that thing? Okay, so I mean A plus, what is this E? That is E plus A. A plus E is equal to E plus A, and that is equal to A. What is this E? This E, I know in case of addition, when I add 0 or when something is added to 0, okay, then I get back that thing. Okay, so additive identity is 0. Okay, so 0 does not belong to the set of natural number. For that reason, this natural number under this operation addition, it is an algebraic structure, it's a semi-group, but it is not a monoid. Okay. Now what is the multiplicative identity? Think about it. What is it when I multiply with A, or what is when I multiply A with that, I will get back A. It is 1, right? When I multiply something with 1, or when I multiply 1 with something, I get back that thing. Okay, so multiplicative identity is 1. Okay. So does 1 belong to the set of natural number? Yes, 1 belongs to the set of natural number. Therefore, it is a monoid. Okay. 0 does not belong to the set of natural number. The additive identity, here the operation is addition, the additive identity does not belong to my set, therefore it is not a monoid. Okay, here the multiplicative identity 1, it belongs to my set, therefore it's a monoid. Okay, what about this z under operation plus? The additive identity 0 belongs to the set of integers, right? So yes, the identity belongs to the set of integer, 0 belongs to the set of integer, so it is a monoid. What about 1? This set, integer under multiplication. The multiplicative identity is 1, it belongs to the set of integer, so this is also a monoid. What about real number n plus? The additive identity is 0, 0 belongs to the set of real number, so it is a monoid. Multiplicative identity is 1, 1 belongs to the set of real number, so it is a monoid. So all of these are monoids, okay, except for this natural number under addition. Okay, since it is not a monoid, it cannot be a group, it cannot be a abelian group. Fine. This is what, if I ask you what is this, you will have to say this is a semi-group. Okay, yes, it is a algebraic structure, but you have to tell me what is the highest form that it is. Okay, it is a semi-group at max, so you have to tell me it's a semi-group. Okay, so this is done. It is semi-group at max, it is not a monoid, and since it is not a monoid, it cannot be a group, it cannot be a abelian group. Okay, fine. Let us now talk about this one, inverse. Okay. Does the inverse of every element belong to this set? Okay, that is the question. So what is inverse? Okay, so in case of addition, a minus a, okay, give me the identity. What is the additive identity? It is 0. Okay, so in case of multiplication, here is the operation that I am interested in is multiplication. My element comes from the set of natural number. Okay, my operation is multiplication. So what is it? When I multiply with a, I will get back my multiplicative identity. Okay, so what is it? When I multiply with a, I will get back the identity. Okay, so sorry, what is it? So I can see it is 1 by a. Okay, or 1 by a. Correct? So here is the question. Does my 1 by a, this is my inverse, okay, multiplicative inverse. Does my multiplicative inverse belong to my set? Okay, so does my multiplicative inverse exist? That is what I am asking over here. In case of natural number and multiplication, okay, so my multiplicative inverse for 2 is 1 by 2. So when I multiply 2 with 1 by 2, when I do this multiplication, I get 1. Okay, does 1 by 2 belong to my set of natural number? 1 by 2 does not belong to my set of natural number, right? So this is not a group. This inverse does not exist. Okay, what about this set of integers under this operation z? Okay, so set of integers and z. So if I get any integer a, what is it? When I add with a, I will get back my additive identity. What is additive identity? Additive identity is 0. Okay, so what is it that will be here? It will be minus a. So here is the question. If a is an integer, is minus a, does it belong to the set? Okay, so for every integer, does the additive inverse belong to the set? It does. Okay, so for every integer, say 2, the additive integers is minus 2. So this is an integer, this is also an integer. So for this, the additive integer is minus of minus 2, this is equal to 2. Okay, so this is an integer, this is an integer. So for every integer, its additive inverse is also an integer. So the additive inverse of every integer belongs to the set of integer. Okay, so for every element in Z, the additive inverse of Z belongs to this set. Okay, for that reason I will say that the inverse of every element exists in the set. Okay, since the inverse of every element exists in the set, I know it is a group. Okay, what about multiplication? Two into 1 by 2 is equal to 1. Is 1 by 2 an integer? This is the multiplicative inverse of 2, right? So 2's multiplicative inverse is 1 by 2. So when I multiply an element with its multiplicative inverse, I get back the multiplicative identity. The multiplicative identity is 1. Now 2 is an integer. It is coming from my set of integers. Its multiplicative inverse is 1 by 2. 1 by 2 is not an integer. Okay. So for every element, the inverse does not belong to the set of integers. Okay. For every element in the set, the inverse for this operation does not belong to the set. So this is not a group. What is this? This is a monoid at max. Okay. For the same reason, for every real number, the additive inverse belongs to the set. Okay. So if A is a real number, its additive inverse is minus A. That would give me 0, the additive identity. Okay. So if A is a real number, then minus A is also a real number. Okay. So for every element from the set of real number, its additive inverse minus A also belongs to the set of real numbers. Okay. For that reason, I know that for my set of real number, the additive inverse exists in my set. Okay. So because of that, I know this is a group. This set of real number under this operation addition is a group. Now what about set of real number under this operation multiplication? Okay. So 2, what is the multiplicative inverse of 2? 1 by 2. This will give me the multiplicative identity. Okay. So for 2, 1 by 2 belongs to the set of real number. Okay. If I have pi, 1 by pi will give me 1. Okay. So pi is a real number, not a rational number, but real number. Okay. So pi into 1 by pi will give me 1. Okay. So does for every real number the inverse belong to the set of real number? So pause this video and think about it. Okay. Here is my question. Basically, A into what equal to 1? You were saying 1 by A. This is what we were saying, not only you. I was even saying this. Okay. So under this, for this real number, this would be its multiplicative inverse, right? What about 0? 0 into what is equal to 1? 0 is of course a real number. Okay. So this does not make sense, right? 0 into 1 by 0 is equal to 1. This does not make sense. So for every real number, 0 is a real number. 0 does not have a multiplicative inverse that belongs to the set of real number. Okay. So I know that for every real number, the inverse does not exist. There is a real number. It is given over here. There is a real number for which the inverse does not exist in the set. Okay. For that reason, I know this real number under this operation multiplication is not a group. Alright. Now because this is not a group, this is not an abelian group, this is not a group, this is not an abelian group, this is not a group, this is not an abelian group. Since it is not a group, it cannot be an abelian group. Okay. So we are done with this. We are done with this. and we are done with this. Okay. Now to be an abelian group, you have to satisfy all these properties and you have to satisfy the commutative property. Okay. Now addition with integers or addition with real number, both of them satisfy the commutative property. Okay. So both of them satisfy the commutative property, so both of these are abelian group. Done? Fine. Let us work with a few more examples. This is the set of even numbers under this operation addition. This is the set of even numbers under this operation subtraction. Set of odd numbers under the operation addition. Set of odd number under operation not subtraction, multiplication. Alright. Then the set of matrices under the operation addition. The set of matrices under the operation multiplication. You know what is matrix addition, you know what is matrix multiplication. Okay. So let us now figure this out. Figure out for distance. Okay. So when I add to number, when I add to even number, this is the set of even numbers. Okay. E is the set of even numbers, O is the set of odd numbers, M is the set of all matrices. Okay. So when I add to even numbers, do I get back an even number? Yes, I do get back an even number when I add to even number. When I multiply to even number, I get an even number. When I add to odd number, what happens? When I add to odd number, I get an even number. Okay. So when I add to odd number, the result that I get, does it belong to the set of odd number? No, it does not belong to the set of odd number. Right? So because of that reason, I know that the set of odd number under this operation addition is not closed. So because it is not closed, it is not an algebraic structure, it's not a magma. Okay. What about this? When I multiply to odd number, the result is an odd number. So it is closed. When I multiply to odd number, whatever result I get belongs to the set of odd number. Okay. So it is closed. When I add to matrices, okay, what happens? The result that I get, it is a matrix, right? Yeah, so it is closed. When I add to multiply to matrices, the result that I get is a matrix, so this is also closed. So when I add to matrices, the result that I get belongs to the set of matrices. When I add to multiply to matrices, the result that I get belongs to the set of matrices. Okay, fine. Now this I know is not a algebraic structure. This is not a semi-group. This is not magma. This is not group. This is not an abelian group. Okay. Now, is it associative? Okay, addition and multiplication. I know it is associative for natural number, for real number, for integers. Okay, is it associative here? Think about it. I am not going to discuss this any further. Yes, this is associative. Addition and multiplication in case of numbers is associative. Okay, there is nothing to talk too much over here. Yes, odd numbers, it is associative. What about matrix addition or matrix multiplication? Are they associative? Addition is of course associative. Okay. Matrix multiplication is also associative. Okay. In fact, how we do this association? Okay. Say I am multiplying several matrices. I can do these two first. Okay. I can multiply these two. I can multiply these two, and then the result I can multiply to get the result. Or I can do this. I can do A, B, C. I can multiply these two first. Then I can multiply with this. This and the result of this, and that result that I will get, I can multiply with this. Okay. So all this choice that I make, how to multiply all these different matrices, several matrices. Okay. Depending on this, I will have different number of multiplication and addition. Okay. Of course, to multiply matrices, I need to do addition and multiplications, right? So depending on the choice that I make, my number of multiplication and addition is going to vary. Okay, so there is a dynamic programming algorithm that, given this size of matrices, okay, it will find out how to put your parentheses such that you will have the minimum number of addition multiplication. Alright, so that is something that we have. Matrix multiplication is associative. Alright. Okay. Now, does identity exist? What is the additive identity? Additive identity, we talked about this, is 0. Okay. So 0 belongs to the set of even numbers. So additive identity belongs to the set of even numbers. Fine. What is multiplicative identity? Multiplicative identity is 1. 1 is not an even number. So 1 does not belong to the set of even number. So yeah, the set of even number under addition, it is a monoid, but the set of even number under multiplication, it is not a monoid, it is a semi-group at max. Alright. What about odd number under multiplication? Does the multiplicative identity 1, does it belong to the set of odd number? 1 belongs to the set of odd numbers, right? So it's a monoid. Okay. What is additive identity in case of a matrix? Okay, that is the question. So I have a matrix. Say this is my 2 by 2 matrix. What is it when I add with this matrix? I will get back this matrix. Okay. What is it that I can add? I can add the 0 matrix, right? So when I add the 0 matrix, I will get back. So this 0 matrix is my identity. Okay. Additive identity in case of matrix. So this 0 matrix, does it belong to the set of matrix? This is also a matrix, so it does belong to the set of matrices. Okay. So the additive identity exists. Okay. And one more thing, when I say this 0 matrix, let me call it 0 matrix. When I add some matrix to the 0 matrix, it is equal to 0 matrix plus this. Okay. So this is one thing about identity. Okay. You have this operation, some operation. This is your identity. This is some operand, element from my set. This E operation A must be equal to A operation E, and this must be equal to A. Okay. These two cannot be different. If this happens, then we have a problem. This cannot be true. Okay. This has to be true. So yeah, the 0 matrix is my additive identity in case of matrix, and it belongs to the set of matrix. Therefore, this set of matrices under this operation addition is a monoid. What about multiplicative identity in case of matrix? Okay, if I have some matrix A, B, C, D, what matrix can I multiply with it so that I will get back? Sorry. My question is this. This matrix, what is it when I multiply? I will get back this matrix. No, okay, I was confused. Whatever. This is the question. Okay, I have this matrix. What can I multiply to this matrix that I will get back this? Okay, and this has to be same. This is A, B, C, D. Okay, and this will be A, B, C, D. So what is it that I can multiply with this, or what is it when multiplied by this will get me that thing back? Okay, this is the identity matrix, right? So you hopefully have studied what is identity matrix in linear algebra. okay, or back in high secondary when you were studying matrices. Okay, so identity matrix, when I multiply with any other matrix, I will get back that matrix. So, right. So the identity matrix is the multiplicative identity in case of matrices. Alright. And the identity matrix belong to the set of matrices. So I know my matrix set of matrices under this operation multiplication is a monoid. Why? Because the multiplicative identity, that is the identity matrix, okay, it belongs to the set of matrices. Okay, for this reason I know this is a monoid. Okay. Now this even number under multiplication is not a monoid, so it's not a group, and so it's not an abelian group. Okay. Now here is the question. For even number 2, okay, for every even number, does this additive identity belong to the set? So for what is additive identity? Additive inverse. So for 2, what is the number when I add with 2? I will get back the additive identity is 0. Okay. So in case of 2, it is minus 2. Okay. So here is the question. For any real number, for any number, okay, any even number, minus e will be some number which should be the additive inverse of this. The addition of these 2 will give me 0. Here is my question. If this is a even number, is this also even number? 2 is an even number, is minus 2 an even number, minus 2 is an even number. So if for all these even numbers, set of even number, does its additive identity, additive inverse belong to the set? Yes, it does belong. For every 2, minus 2 belongs to the set. For every minus 2, 2 belongs to the set. Okay. For 4, minus 4 belongs to the set. Minus 4 is even. Fine. So it is a group. What about odd number and multiplication? So say 3 is an odd number. Okay. The multiplicative inverse of 3 is 1 by 3. When I multiply 3 with 1 by 3, I get the multiplicative identity 1. Okay. So 3 belongs to the set of odd number. Its multiplicative inverse is 1 by 3. Does 1 by 3 belong to the set of odd number? 1 by 3 does not belong to the set of odd number. Okay. 1 by 3 is not an integer. Integer belongs to the set. This set of even numbers, set of odd numbers are subset of set of integers. Right? So this is not a group. Okay. What about matrix under addition? If I have some matrix, okay, when I add with something, I have some matrix A, B, C, D. Okay. When I add with its additive inverse, what will I get? I will get back the additive identity. The 0 matrix is the additive identity, right? We just talked about that. So what is the additive inverse of this? If I do this, if I multiply minus 1 with this, okay, I will get minus A, minus B, minus C, minus D. This matrix. So when I add these two matrix, I will get back this. So for every matrix, okay, I will have A inverse, additive inverse. So when I add the additive inverse, I will get the additive identity, this 0 matrix. Okay, and it is very easy to figure out what is the additive inverse. Just multiply the matrix with minus 1. Alright. So yeah, for every matrix, the additive inverse, this is a what? This is a matrix. So for every matrix, its additive inverse also belongs to the set of matrices. Right. So because of that, we know that this inverse, this is a group. The inverse belongs to the set. Alright. What about multiplication? for every matrix does inverse exist? Okay, so when I multiply some matrix with its inverse, okay, multiplicative inverse, so it is also called inverse, okay, in case of matrices. So when I multiply a matrix with its inverse, I should get back the identity matrix. But here is the question: for every matrix, does the inverse exist? So there are matrices for which the inverse does not exist. I believe this is one of them. If you know any method for finding this thing, is the try to figure out if the determinant of this matrix is 0. Okay, I will not do this calculation now. But if you try to find the inverse of this using any Gauss-Jordan method or anything, okay, you should. I believe you will not find an inverse of this. Okay, I just made up this matrix. So there should not be 3 pivot elements in this. Okay, so there are matrices. These are called non-invertible matrices. Okay, which do not have inverse. And when I say inverse in case of matrix, without saying additive inverse, if I say additive inverse, it means this thing that we just talked about previously. But when I say inverse without mentioning any other word, we usually mean multiplicative inverse. Okay, so when I multiply a matrix with its inverse, I should get the identity matrix. But there are lots of matrices that do not have inverse. Okay, so those are called non-invertible matrices that do not have inverse. So there are matrices which do not have inverse. Okay, there are elements in the set of matrices whose inverse do not exist in the set of matrices. Okay, so because of that reason, this matrix under this operation multiplication is not this. It's not a group. Okay. So since it's not a group, it's not an abelian group. Similarly, odd number and multiplication, this is not an abelian group. Okay. Now even number under addition, it is commutative. Okay. If you add two even numbers, 2 plus 4, it is equal to 4 plus 2. Okay. So addition, anyway, under any number, it is additive, commutative. Okay. Matrix addition is also commutative. Okay. It's essentially scalar addition 1 by 1. Okay. For each element in the matrix, each cell in the matrix. So this is also an abelian group. It is also commutative. It is an abelian group. So I can see over here, this is an abelian group, and this is an abelian group. Alright. Okay. Now I have a homework for you. Okay. See, this was matrix under addition, right? If I ask you what type of structure this is, you have to say it's a abelian group. Okay, it's a group, correct? But this is not the highest form. The highest form is that it is an abelian group. So you have to say it's a abelian group. Okay, you cannot say it's a algebraic structure. Yes, it's an algebraic structure. Okay, for example, this matrix multiplication under multiplication, it is a monoid. Okay, it is a algebraic structure, it's a semi-group, it's a monoid. Okay, it's not a group. So if I ask you what is this, you have to say it's a monoid. You cannot say it's a semi-group. Okay, of course it's a semi-group, but semi-group is not the highest form. Okay. Now here is a homework question for you. This operation, power, okay, where a power b is equal to a to the power b. Okay, try to figure out what is this. In case of natural number power, in case of integer power, in case of real number and power. Try to figure out, is this of just algebraic structure, is it semi-group, monoid group or abelian group? Try to figure this out, and also try to figure out for this other operation. Okay, this A, let me make this operation, B is equal to A plus B by A minus B. Okay, so I just made this operation. Okay, so try to figure out for natural number, is it this operation, what is it? Is it an algebraic structure, semi-group, group, whatever, abelian group, whatever, for this and for this. Okay, so try to figure this out. Alright, so this is your homework. I want to end this video by saying that had you known about regular expression, okay, now regular expression, there are lots of operation that you can do on regular expression. Two operations are concatenation and union. Okay, so concatenation is also monoid. It's not group, it's not abelian group. Similarly, this is also a monoid, it's not a group, and hence it's not an abelian group. Okay, thing is that when I concatenate two regular expression, I get a regular expression, so it is closed. Okay, and then it is associative also. Okay, and then identity exists. Some regular expression A concatenated with this empty epsilon. Epsilon is a string of zero length, will give me A. Okay, so similarly, some regular expression A, when I OR with the empty set, will give me A. This is essentially like A union empty set is equal to A, right? So this union is not exactly like the set union, but there are relation between regular expression union and this. Okay. So because of this, these two are the identity exists. Okay, this is the concatenation identity, this is the union identity. Okay, now there is nothing that I can concatenate with a string to get the empty string. Okay, there is nothing that I can concatenate, there is no set that I can union, there is nothing that I can union with a string to get back 5. Okay, so because this does not exist, this is not group, the inverse does not exist. Okay, this is the concatenation identity, this is the union identity. Okay, but there is no inverse. The identity exists, but the inverse does not exist. Okay. I believe you have not studied regular expression till now. Okay, so because of that reason, if you did not understand what I just talked about, ignore it. Okay, I cannot explain regular expression in 1 or 2 videos. Okay, you will study regular expression in very much detail. You will study lots of properties and far greater details in finite automata and formal languages. Okay, so it's a very powerful tool, this regular expression. Matter of fact, your programming language, when to detect syntax error, okay, regular expression is sufficient. Okay, to do this tokenization. Then when we do this thing to form validation in HTML, okay, whether the number that you have put is a valid phone number, whether the email address that you have put is a valid email address, so all these kind of things we can do with regular expression. It's a very powerful tool. Anyway, we will study this next semester if you have not studied this till now. So if you do not know what is regular expression, ignore this part at the very end. Okay, so apart from this, I hope you have understood everything else in this video. Okay, very simple thing. If you did not understand, watch again, and still if you do not understand, then give me a call or send me a WhatsApp message or write your doubt in the comment section below, or you can use the forum in Google Classroom that we have. Okay. So with this, I am going to end this video. There will be 2 more videos in which I will be talking about abstract algebra. After that, our course will be over. Okay. So see you in the next video. I hope you understood everything in this video. See you.